as I begin, you're going to understand why I played that piece of music. Very particular, popular, known piece of music from a film called Fight Club. Fight Club, like so many of the films produced in Hollywood, has, as I've said so often, the esoteric meaning and the exoteric meaning. The exoteric meaning is for the rest, is all of y'all. I don't include myself with y'all because I know better now. I used to be like y'all. And when I first seen Fight Club, I was one of y'all. Whoa, what a cool movie. As the years went by and I learned more, I realize now what Fight Club is really saying. But we're not talking about Fight Club today. We're going to talk about the beliefs of those who create films, who produce film, direct films like Fight Club, write films like Fight Club. Because Fight Club, in case you didn't know, was based on a book. And they're all throughout the film is all this Masonic mumbo jumbo. Tonight, I am going to try. If you thought it was crazy before, sit down, get a bottle of water, another beverage, whatever you like to drink, write notes, or watch this video over and over and over. You're going to have to, because what I'm going to do tonight is try to explain to you what they truly believe. I have told you that they don't believe in a God. They don't believe in a devil like you and I do, you know. They don't believe in any entities. They know better. Again, my only problem with their beliefs is that they keep it a secret and they use it to keep us stupid, manipulate us into doing their bidding, whether we know it or not. That's my only problem. I don't know if what they believe is the truth or not. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. I just don't like the lies. I don't like the manipulation. And I don't like the hypocrisy. So as I've told you before, they believe the mind of man is God. The collective mind of man makes them gods. And it doesn't matter if they really believe that they're gods or that they can become gods. Again, it all goes back to Genesis. It all goes back to that Bible. Okay? They see the Bible. When they read the Bible, it's completely different than what you read the Bible. Then that's what you have to understand. Okay? What it means to them is a whole different thing than what it means to you. So, with that said, I'm going to try to delve into the mind and its creations. This son of a bitch. I have to deal with this guy every day. He sits in his fucking car. Listen to this idiot. He sits in his fucking car and revs up the engine for no fucking reason. See, that's why they call you cattle. That's why they call you stupid. Because you are. Anyway, for those of you who are intelligent though, these videos, these streams are for you. To enlighten you to what the elite, the so-called divine gods, you know, Soros, that old piece of shit Soros. I mentioned this in a previous video. This son of a bitch believed he was a god, fantasized about being God. This is the type of people are in positions of power over our lives. At any moment, they can destroy whole civilizations with war, weapons of war, nukes, all types of weapons that we don't even know about. So this is why I'm doing this, to try to help you understand their mind, their sick, perverted minds. So I begin. Thank God the son of a bitch left. The mind and its creations. It is thought in the higher science of the divine wisdom that the mind is light that moves all within the universe as well as the creations. This same light is also contained within the brain, for it is the brain that houses the mind. This light is really a form of fire. It is a very small piece of the great light, the sun, and I'm talking about S-U-N, the sun. Even though it is small in quantity, it is very, very powerful. The mind contains in measurement billions of volts. Within the billions of power volts, we must remember that the great light, the sun, itself is none other than a gigantic electromagnetic ball of forces that are in constant motion due to the fact of its living off the vacuum of space. Space itself, vacuum, is the mother of the mind. It is from this void of space that the mind was born, which in turn gave birth to other minds. One of the largest minds produced from the vacuum of space, or womb of mind, is none other than the sun. It is from this mind, the sun, that other minds were created, taking with others the power or part of power of that mind from which they originated. The mind vacuum of empty space, before there was any light itself, was born from the atom. This atom is termed in the higher sciences as being the father and mother of the man from which the first light sprang forth. It is so called the father and mother alike because its construction was double jointed, or positive and negative. Here we go with the duality again. When we speak of the mind, we are really speaking of the triple darkness of space. The wise term this particular darkness as being triple because of its construction, which is how, the way in which the mind is built. The mind is built in 3 divisions or planes. It was darkness in 3 layers, divisions or planes. And I'm not talking about planes in the sky. I'm not talking about planes. I'm talking about planes of existence. The other definition of a plane. This triple darkness of space consisted of the unmanifested atom that had yet been brought from the womb of its mother, the mind. Keep in mind that the mind itself was contained within an atom. The birth of the atom from which the first light came forth also brought forth the beginning of man and his creations. This is termed as the birth of God. But this isn't the God that you know. So be careful, pay attention. This is how they perceive God. But to acquire a more complete understanding of the mind from which all other minds came from, first we must obtain an understanding concerning the birth of the mind. The birth of the mind, or we could say, from where did space come, came forth from an atom which created itself moving at a speed of 24 billion miles a second, covering an oblong area of 76 quintillion miles in diameter. But what was actually moving in motion was one level of darkness, in this particular case, the first level of darkness. As the first level of darkness rotated, it produced a flow of life or visible energy into the second level of darkness, which also threw into the third and final level of darkness. All three planes or levels of darkness were then in motion, all moving from east to west, each level moving in motion at the speed of 24 billion miles per second. A total of 72 billion miles per second. If we subtract the speed of one of the levels, which moving at 24 billion miles per second, we then arrive at the center of the entire universe in this stage. The center or middle of the mind, which is 38 quintillion miles. It is the center of darkness, the point of total darkness, that the birth of the atom from which the first light came forth and began to live. These levels of darkness continued their rotation. The speed of their movement produced a thick shell of tense heat which surrounded the entire darkness of space. This heat is billions and billions of volts of electricity. This is the protective covering that keeps the entire universe alive. This electricity is mathematically distributed throughout the entire universe. The sun draws this invisible energy into its womb, center. Thereby it continues the birth of heat, heat that changes into physical form, the form of fire. If it were not for the sun taking in of this electrical energy and breaking it down into fire sustaining heat, there would not be any living life forms in the universe. Notice, they're not saying the earth or on the earth. They're saying the entire universe. We or no other form of life, even upon the other planets, listen up. This is why they teach in Scientology that there are different planets. They believe that the souls of aliens inhabited the prehistoric man. This is why the Mormons teach about different planets where the races are separated. Oh boy. We or no other form of life, even upon the other planets, could exist without the heat from the great light. We can't live on the electricity that the protective covering distributed throughout space. That energy has to be converted into a life-giving form, because in its original form, it is destructive to living tissue. You know what's amazing and how they know all this? As the producing of a protective covering of the universe, there also was the creation of a thinking process. This being the case means that not only was there a protective covering for space itself, but also the creation of a form of brain. Actually, this is what occurred. The activity that manifested within the area, this darkness of space, was what we now term as the birth of the mind for all creations. Just as the electrical covering that surrounds the universe protects the creations that are contained within the universe, so the same with our physical brain, that our minds are contained within. Are you beginning to see? Are you beginning to see what they believe? It's all in their heads, literally. The reason that thought travels at the speed of 24 billion miles per second is because the level of the planes from which the brain and mind were birthed traveled at this speed. Since it was from the mind that the creation of the first came, as well as other physical creations, then by the power of the mind, in this phase of manifestation, that the power is light, or we could say, the fire that was taken from the sun. That's why they use so much sun symbolism. If you look at all your logos, remember the gas station, called Shell? You thought it was a shell. No, it's not. It's the sun with its rays protruding. The swastika, oh, the evil Nazis. The swastika is a sun symbol. The Star of David, to show you the diametrically opposed thing, would be the Star of David, right? Because that's the Jewish symbol. Well, it's a star, isn't it? What's another term for the star? A sun. And they have these people hate each other. But yet they use the same logos. This, at first you think it's just the snake, the cobra, the reptile. Yeah, outwardly, but this is also a sun symbol. Oh God. The fire of the sun is contained or carried by all creations. The reason being, as taught, because everything that the universe holds in her bounds came from the sun after the supreme separation of the earth from the sun. The heat that came with the planet was light contained in the planet. The first thing to appear upon the planet after its cooling and eructation was that of the plants. I want to make sure the plant's vegetation had the birth from the water of the planet. It is also taught that a higher process governs the birth and growth of plants. Oh, let me stop right here. This is why if you study Rosicrucianism, they're so into the plants growing from the earth, reaching towards the sun. This is sort of what they want to do with human beings, you see. The Bible says that we were created from the matter of the earth. These bastards, though, want us to evolve. Just like the plant starts as a seed, okay, in the dirt, that's how they see us. But they want to elevate, they want to sprout, they want to go towards the sun and be combined. They want to be gods. You see what I'm saying? That's why Superman gets his powers from the sun. The Superman, Nietzsche's Superman. That's why they got the crypto Jew. What's his name? James Gunn, producing that new movie, directing that new movie. That's why the last crypto Jew, Zack Snyder, directed the movie. That's why y'all get confused with all this Jesus symbol. You say, oh, Superman's a metaphor for Jesus. Nope. Superman's a metaphor for their Messiah. And I've read the goddamn comic books. Okay? There are two sides to Superman. Snyder showed you a little bit of it in his movies, with Superman becoming a tyrant. That's going to be their Messiah. Oh boy. First of all, it's taught that plants have a dense and vital type of body, meaning that cell structure is crowded closely together or either compact, vital, meaning type of organic life essential to or supporting life that can neither feel nor think. The reason being between them and man, the plants are essential for life to flow upon the planet. The wise men, who are they? The wise men who made the planets or worlds knew in advance. Therefore, they created a law stipulating such. The consciousness of the plants resembles a sort of dreamless sleep. Next, we have what is called minerals. The minerals have only a dense type of body. It is 3 divisions, levels between it and man. We must understand that all manifestations were created or came into existence or upon different planes. It is taught that the minerals are unconscious, more like being suspended in a trance-like state. And I'm going to take a little water break here. So while I do that, you can enjoy this piece of music. Listen to it again. Listen to it again. What are you seeing in the opening credits of Fight Club? You better rewatch that movie. You better rewatch that movie, Fight Club. Pop it in, and this time pay attention to what you're seeing. The reason that the plants or germs of life did not become destroyed with the fire from which the planets were molded is because they were their germs in a type of energy state. This energy was the mind in that division of life which was to come forth, manifest. Therefore, when the earth started to cool or crystallize, they were present. They are over trillions of years developed in their first state of existence into molds which drew to themselves the dense material which formed the planet life bodies of the present day. The plants help to give them the vital force, a life-giving force, here's that force again, to draw to themselves denser substances. This is why plants have a dense body also. For example, air is invisible, yet we know that it exists. We can also measure its velocity by compressing it. We are able to acquire the liquid, water, but with ether, and that's E-T-H-E-R, so I guess it's ether. I'm going to say ether. I don't want you confused with the other term. But with ether, it is not that easy. Ether is a fine part of electricity or energy of nature that flows through all nature's creations. The ether is that element which helps it bring all creations into manifestation. Without ether, there can be no life form of any type. There are 4 types of ether, all which have specific functions, and all 4 forms flow in the minerals, plants, animals, and men. And I'll include women, because a lot of these bastards, they don't include women in their so-called lessons. Okay? So when I say men, I'm including women as well. The name and specific functions of these 4 ether are, first of all, we have what is termed chemical ether. This ether is both positive and negative in its manifestation. This is what I stated concerning the assimilating process that proceeds throughout the body. Next we have what is called life ether. As the chemical ether is the path for the operation of the forces, the object of what is the upkeep of the individual form. So life ether is the path for the operation of the forces which have for the object upkeep of the species the propagation or birth of them, the continued birth. Like the chemical ether, the life ether also has its positive and negative pole. The forces that work along the negative pole are these that work in our women during what is known as gestation. They enable her to do the work of bringing forth a new being. On the other hand, the forces which work along the positive pole enables the male to produce semen. And I'm not talking about the guys on ships. It is taught that the inner working forces on the impregnated species of the animal and also man, or the forces which are working along the positive pole of the life ether, is what produces male plants, male animals, and man. While the forces that operate through the negative pole produce all female animals, plants, and women. And this is why, women, for the very few of you that are watching this is why you're considered lowly, below men. They consider themselves, these elite bastards, the chosen people, the master race, the so-called Illuminati, see women as low and they as on top. But it's strange that in Freemasonry, they actually do the opposite. And we will get into Freemasonry, its symbols and logos, on another video. Hopefully. But this is where all the negativity towards women comes from. Negativity. It is good to note that this was part of the process nature underwent throughout the man, enabling him to produce woman. So you see, it wasn't God that made, according to them, God didn't make Adam and Eve. Man did. You know why? Because man is God. The next ether is that of what is taught as being light ether. This ether is both positive and negative, and the forces which operate along its pole are as the forces which the heat stores in our blood. The ether also is that which maintains the individual sources that is in the animals as well as man. The forces which work along the negative pole of the light ether are those which operate through our senses. It is taught that the earth is a sense body that was created from the mother and father minerals from which the other creations also had their birth. In order for the earth to further us with an environment in which we could live, it had to crystallize itself into a solid composition. The vital body of planets is composed only of three dense energies: light, the atom, chemical, and life. These energies enable the planets to grow and propagate, but they look like higher forms of energy. They would be what is called light and reflecting magnetism. Reflecting magnetism is that form of energy which creations are developed from in order to arrive upon a more clear understanding concerning what is motion, biochemical. I will attempt to explain as taught. First, reflective magnetic, the energy, is both positive and negative in form. The invisible forces that live about assimilation and excretion work through it. Assimilation is why different food elements are gathered into the body of plant, animal, and man. This is carried on by forces which we are not aware of in the circle of understanding. This force, as taught, works along the positive pole of the chemical ether and attracts the elements it needs, building them into different forms. These forces complete their purpose with ether in the growth and upkeep of the body. Excretion is carried on by forces similar, only these work along the negative pole of the chemical ether. By means of this pole, they help to excrete unfit foodstuff, also that which has outlived its usefulness in the body. And we all know how that happens. I don't need to explain what it's talking about. It is the part's mind that enables nature to live and produce, for the fire of mind lives, burns in all creations. It is taught that the mind is an oblong ball of fire which is white in color. Let me repeat that part, and I want you to find out what it's talking about, okay? All of you that for years been told that the sun is yellow, reddish orange. I'm just looking at my computer here. This thing is acting up. It is taught that the mind is an oblong ball of fire which is white in color. Now you know, here's a tidbit, why that circle around the swastika is white. The reason its color is white is because of its high rate of rotation. The human mind, or mind of man, is constructed in such a manner that it is capable of bringing into existence anything it can conceive. There is nothing that the mind of man can't conceive, that he can't bring into existence, manifest. The mind of the man is constructed upon levels. These levels contain divisions. The mind of man is self-existing and sustaining it creates and destroys in ratio its capability to produce ideas, and these ideas or thoughts are created in the billions of miles per second. At this particular point of the teaching of the mind, it is necessary that we first acquire an understanding of what the term ether stipulates. First of all, ether is invisible. It is here that the original five senses fail in providing with its true picture. This is the realm of nature that is invisible and intangible. This type of work enables us to have the function of what we call sight, hearing, feeling, tasting, and smelling. This light ether also builds and gives nourishment, life, to the eyes. It is further thought that in the cold-blooded animals, the positive pole circulates through the blood. These negative forces have the same functions in regards to the eyes as in the case of the higher animals as well as man. If the eyes should lack the forces to work in the negative pole of the light ether, then we would cease to have sight, for it is the light that gives us sight. In the plants, the forces which work along the positive pole of the light ether causes the circulation of the juices in the plant. For example, in the season of winter, when the light ether is not charged with the sunlight as it would be in the summer, the sap in the plants ceases to flow until the summer sun invests the light ether with its forces. And let me stop right here. and ask you guys to look for the song, doesn't matter who sings it, The Rose. Originally sung by Bette Midler, but you can listen to any version you want, anybody singing it. Listen to the song carefully. It's not what you think it's about. The forces that work the negative pole of the light ether deposits the chlorophyll, which is the green substances of the plant. It also gives certain colors to the flowers. In fact, all colors in all the kingdoms of nature is deposited by means of the negative poles of the light ether. Therefore, if one is very observant, he will notice that the deepest coloring is on the back of animals and on the flowers. Their deepest coloring is on the side that is turned on the polar regions of our planet, such as the North Pole and South Pole regions where the rays of the sun are weak. All color is lighter, and in some cases is so sparsely deposited that in the winter it may become withdrawn. All animals will become white in color. This is what occurred with our great bears who became stranded within the polar regions of our planet during the age of crystallization upon the surface of our planet. Sometimes it is called the Great Ice Age, but our planet crystallized with the shift of the poles. The great bears spoken of here is what are called the polar bears. There are also other animals who populate these regions who are also totally white in color. The next ether is that of what is called reflecting ether. It is taught that everything that has ever happened upon our planet or within the universe has left behind a type of manifestation that was attached in the reflecting ether, such as our atmosphere. Our entire past histories and civilizations, which once existed upon the planet, is still imprinted within the atmosphere, meaning the reflective ether. If it were so possible for one to tap the certain air pockets within the atmosphere, it would enable us to view our past histories as though we were viewing the scene of a motion picture. Trillions of years as the giant fern plants upon the planet in its childhood stage have left their picture in the coal beds taught in school geology, which we call glaciers, indicating that a certain type of plant occupied an area of the planet. Even so are the thoughts and acts of man, and his works are recorded by nature in the reflecting ether. Okay, I'm taking a little break right now. Oh, wait a minute. Almost made the wrong mistake here. Let me take a water bottle break. Okay, let's continue where we left off. Okay. All right. Please bear with me. I'll try to explain this as well as possible. But just bear with me as I go through this. The master is capable of viewing our histories as far back to the creation of our planet. The reflecting ether deserves to be called such for more than one reason. For the pictures are but reflections of the memories of nature. The real memory of nature is found in a much higher realm. This ether, the reflecting ether, is also the medium through which thought makes an impression upon the human brain. In both evil and good men, it is highly concerned with the subdivision of the world of thought, which is one of the higher regions or realms. Actually, this is the region of concrete thought, and is the drawing region of the human mind. In this region, a much clearer version of the memories of nature is found. That is the reflecting ether. At this point, it is necessary to speak of what is taught as being the desire world in order for one to gather a more deeper understanding concerning the mind. Like the physical world has subdivisions which are called regions, but unlike the physical world, it does not have the great divisions corresponding to the chemical and other regions, what is taught as being desire stuff or matter. It is taught that anything happening in the physical world is reflected in all the other realms of nature, and as we have seen, builds its appropriate form in the desire world. A true account of the occurrence is given. Another form is built exactly like the five. They are then drawn up together, where they grow and unite together, strength in it entirely. Let me reread that. They are then drawn up together, where they grow and unite together, strength in it entirely. If, however, an untrue account is given a form different and contrary to the first one, will be created. Okay, the opposite will be created. As they deal with the same occurrence, they are drawn together, but as their vibrations are different, they act upon each other with mutual destructiveness. It is taught that the lowest region of the desire world is called the region of passion and sensual desire for communication purposes only. The second subdivision is best described by the name of the region of impressions. Here the effect of the twin forces of attraction and repulsion is eventually balanced. This is a central region, therefore all our impressions, which are built of the same matter of this region, are neutral. Only when the twin feelings which we encounter in the region are brought to rest do the twin forces come into play. The region of impression of anything, however, is, and of itself, entirely separate from the feeling it engenders. The impression is neutral and is an activity of the second region of the desire world, where pictures are formed by the forces of sense perception in the vital body of man. In the region of the world, the forces of attraction, the integration upon building forces, has already gained a percentage over the forces of repulsion. When we understand that the mainspring in this force of repulsions is self-assertion, a pushing away of all others that it may have room, we shall understand that it gives way most easily to be principally dominated by the forces of attraction towards other things. Whew. I told you it would get crazy. Because man, dying individual, is freed from the dense body, which was the heaviest mini-spiritual power, comes back in some measure, and he is able to reach his negative photo of the reflection ether of his vital body, which is being displayed before his eyes, starting from his age at death, all the way back to when he was a small child. All this action in a matter of seconds, but to the individual, it would seem as though he was actually living those particular periods, only in this case his moments of living then would be a period of living in each sequence of his life period. Past life period. Past life period? If it sounds like reincarnation, it's because it is reincarnation. Everything is remembered and shown to him. The man stands as a spectator before this phenomenon of his past life. He sees the pictures as they pass, and they impress themselves upon his higher vehicles which he has. No feelings about them at this time. That is reserved until the time when he entered into the desire world, which is the world of feelings and emotions. At present, he is only the etheric region. At present, he is only the etheric region of the physical world. If he is slowly dying, this phenomenon lasts from a few hours to several days, depending upon the length of time the man could keep awake if necessary. Okay. Some people can awake only 12 hours or even less. Others can do so occasionally for a number of days, but as long as the man can remain awake. This phenomenon is likewise similar to that which takes place when one is drowning or falling from a height. In such cases, the vital body also leaves the dense body, and the man sees his life in a flash because he loses consciousness at once instead of hours or days, as would the dying man in bed. Of course, the silver cord is not broken, or there could be no restitution, as in the case of reviving someone who has almost drowned. When the endurance of the vital body has reached its limit, it collapses in the way described when we were considering the phenomenon of sleep. During physical life, when the mind controls its vehicles, I guess that means the body parts, this collapse terminates the waking hours. After death, the collapse of the vital body terminates the panorama and forces the man to withdraw into the desire world. The silver cord breaks at the points where the sexes unite, and the same division is made as during sleep, but with this important difference, that though the vital body returns to the dense body, it no longer interprets it, but simply hovers over it, leaving the vital body. The process is the same as when the dense body is discharged. The life forces of one atom are taken to be used as a nucleus for the vital body of the future making of man. Thus, upon his entrance into the desire world, he has the seed atoms of the dense and vital bodies in addition to the dense body and the mind. If a dying man could have all desires behind, the desire body would quickly fall away from him, thereby leaving him free to proceed into the other higher planes, energy, and wise forces of mind. But this is not the case. Most people, especially if they die in the prime of life, have many ties and much interest in life on earth. They have not altered their desires because they lost their physical bodies. In fact, their desires are even arguments by a very intense longing to return. And it says here, pay close attention here. This acts in psyche. This acts in psyche a manner as to bind them to the desire world in a very unpleasant way. Although unfortunate, they do not realize it. On the other hand, old and decrepit persons and those who are weakened by long illness and are tired of life pass on very quickly. Okay, so I'm going to end it here. It's been about an hour. You are going to have to decide, if you watched this entire video, whether there's any truth to any of it. But you see, the problem, that therein lies the problem. Because you can say, oh, that's bullshit. I don't believe it. And you might be right. But the bastards in power, the elite, those who don't know who they are, not the puppets like Trump, not the puppets like Soros. I'm talking about the real bastards in charge. You don't know what families they are. You don't know their names. You will never see them. Those are the bastards that believe in this. They have the power. They have the money. They have the influence. They control the puppets. And that's why it's important you understand and know what they believe. Regardless of what you believe, they're in control. All right, I think I have found an appropriate song here to end off on. Let's see if I can find it quickly. Okay, here we go. That's good. Here's another song from the film Fight Club. And as I said, after hearing what I read to you, go watch Fight Club again. And it's also good to know a lot of Freemasonic terms when you watch Fight Club, because they come up a lot in the movie.
Stop.
continue with the revelation of the mind and its creations.